Welcome in, everyone. Let's take a deep breath in. Let your shoulders drop, soften your heart, and unclench your jaw. This is a space for curiosity, for honesty, and for healing. You don't have to agree with everything here. You don't have to have it all figured out. You only have to be willing to listen, to wonder, and to stay open. Let this be your invitation to explore your story, to examine what has shaped you, and to make space for something new. This is not about answers. It's about deeper questions, softer hearts, and the kind of truth that liberates. I'm Christina Baker, and this is the Retreat Full Circle podcast. Welcome to Season 2 of the Retreat Full Circle podcast. If you're new here, or if you just found your way to this space, I want to start by saying thank you. Thank you for your open heart, for your curiosity, and for choosing this podcast at this particular moment in your life. I don't believe we find things randomly. I believe we arrive when we're ready to hear what's being offered. This podcast is about digging deeper into oneself. It's about slowing down enough to notice what's happening beneath the surface. It's about offering ample grace and endless gratitude, first to ourselves and then outward to others. Not as a performance, not as a spiritual bypass, but as a practice. Over time, I've honed my process for creating these episodes, and I want to share it with you, not because it's perfect, but because it's intentional. Almost every episode begins with a noticing. Sometimes it's a pattern I observe in myself. Sometimes it's something unfolding in the world around me. It might begin with a message I receive or a conversation that lingers longer than expected. From there, I sit with it. I ask some very simple but important questions. Is this real? Is it honest? Would it be helpful to bring this into the world? And how can I weave my own lived experiences into it in a way that feels authentic, meaningful, and grounded? After a few days of mulling it over, I sit down to write. At first, it's messy. Bullet points, fragmented thoughts, and half-formed ideas. Then I use a bit of AI to help bring the structure together. After that, I spend time making it truly my own, changing words, shifting phrasing, softening edges until it feels authentic to me. The final step is always the most important. I read it out loud, again and again, and I listen to my body. I pay attention to where there's tension, resistance, or discomfort. Those are cues that something needs to be tweaked. When my body and mind reach a sense of peace together, that's when I know it's ready to be recorded. Through my work with human design, I've learned the language of my own unique makeup, and it has become a powerful guide in this process. The words that anchor me are diplomacy, bridge, inclusive, and passion. And the word I have to watch out for, the one that tells me I'm out of alignment, is polarizing. That cue word alone has been invaluable in helping me stay true to why I do this work. If human design is something you're curious about, I highly encourage you to visit my friend Tina Grello's website at journeytolove.info. You can get a free chart there, and I totally recommend a one-on-one session with Tina if you feel called. Human design can be daunting without a guide. Tina's work is thoughtful, grounded, and deeply supportive. To those of you who have been listening for a while, thank you, truly. Knowing these episodes have resonated, comforted, or sparked reflection means more to me than I can fully express. So with that, let's begin. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 1, The Comfort of Misery. I've been noticing something lately. Not in a dramatic way, not because I was looking for it, just noticing. Last week, I was back in my hometown of Dunedin, Florida. I had some time before Christmas caroling with my band Rhythm and Boone, and so I decided to have dinner alone at one of my favorite places, Mangoes and Marley. If you haven't eaten there, go check it out. I don't eat alone in public very often, and when you're alone, you hear more, you see more, you become more aware of the conversations happening around you, not because you're eavesdropping, but because you're present. As I sat there, I noticed two couples nearby. Not one, two. And neither of them seemed happy. They weren't upset with the food. They weren't frustrated with the service. They were visibly arguing with each other in public, without lowering their voices, without appearing to care who could hear or see. These weren't teenagers. These were middle-aged or older adults. People who've lived long enough to know what private conversations usually look like. And what struck me wasn't shock. It was how normal it seemed. About a week later, I found myself in Walmart, again, alone. If you live in a small town, you know how this goes. People stop to chat. They recognize neighbors. They strike up conversations with strangers. It's slower here, softer. And I've grown to love that pace. But that day, every conversation I overheard had one thing in common: complaining. Employees complaining to employees about scheduling. Neighbors complaining about prices. Couples complaining about losing each other in the massive super Walmart. In the checkout line, people jockeying for position. Subtle but urgent. Everyone trying to get out first. The cashier never looked at me, never greeted me, never acknowledged my presence. And at the very end of our transaction, she said, "Have a blessed day." It wasn't rude. It was empty. And I want to be clear. I'm not someone who goes around looking for negativity. I wasn't in a bad mood. I wasn't searching for something to confirm a belief. These moments found me, and they stayed with me. They made me wonder, why are we so dang miserable? And maybe the harder question, why do we stay that way? I think part of the answer is this. Misery we understand feels safer than a future we do not. I'm going to read that one again. Misery we understand feels safer than a future we do not. Familiar pain is predictable. It has rules. It has edges we already know how to navigate. And the unknown, even when it holds possibility, feels threatening or scary. For many of us, the patterns we're unpacking didn't begin in adulthood. They began in childhood, especially for those raised in homes that were chaotic, unpredictable, or emotionally unsafe. When chaos is the environment we grow up in, it becomes our baseline. Our nervous system learns that intensity equals connection, that instability equals normal. And even when that chaos hurts us, it's familiar. I have several friends who only in hindsight have recognized their deep attachment to chaos. Not because they wanted drama, but because calm felt foreign. peace felt empty. Stability felt suspicious. So without realizing it, they repeated what they knew in relationships, in work, in how they moved through the world. The crazy, as exhausting as it was, felt safer than the unknown of something steady. We stay stuck in jobs that drain us because at least we know what to expect. We know the schedule, the paycheck, the role we play. Wanting more feels risky or even selfish. Trying and failing feels exposed or vulnerable. So we call endurance being responsible. We call burnout just how it is. We get rewarded for grind and admonished for rest. And over time, we forget what aliveness feels like. We stay stuck in marriages and relationships, not always because of love, but because of history. Because starting over sounds exhausting. Because loneliness inside familiarity feels less frightening than loneliness alone. Another pattern I see, often spoken about quietly, if at all, is staying in a marriage for religious reasons alone. When faith is used as the primary reason to endure ongoing emotional harm, chronic disconnection, or erasure of self, something has gone deeply off course. I've watched people close to me confuse devotion with self-abandonment and commitment with silent suffering. When beliefs teach us that leaving is failure, that enduring pain is holy, or that personal well-being comes second to appearances or doctrine, we can become spiritually trapped. The danger isn't faith itself. The danger is when faith is weaponized against our intuition, our bodies, and most importantly, our inner knowing. Over time, this kind of dissonance doesn't create peace. It fractures it, and it often teaches the next generation that love requires sacrifice of self rather than mutual care, honesty, and safety. Conflict becomes routine, resentment becomes normal, and we convince ourselves this is what long-term looks like. Sometimes we don't stay because it's good. We stay because we know exactly how this pain works. And then there are the patterns, the emotional loops we repeat over and over. The same dynamics, the same reactions, the same stories with different faces. Our nervous systems are incredibly loyal. They cling to what's familiar, even if it hurts. Chaos can feel like chemistry. Struggle can feel like purpose. And peace, real peace, can feel suspicious if you've never known it. We bond over complaining. We connect through shared dissatisfaction. It becomes social glue. And complaining itself isn't the problem. Complaining without curiosity is. When we complain without asking why, without looking inward, without imagining something different, it becomes a way to stay exactly where we are. I see this so often at Full Circle retreats, not in a dramatic, broken way, but in quiet admissions, late night conversations, long exhales. Women say things like, "I didn't realize how tense I was," or "I forgot what it feels like not to be needed for a minute," or this one, "I thought this rest would feel uncomfortable, but it feels safe." What they're often responding to isn't the setting or the schedule. It's the unfamiliar experience of not being in survival mode, of not having to perform misery, of not having to justify exhaustion, of not bonding through complaint. And that tells me something important. If misery feels comfortable, it's worth asking what part of us learned to survive there. So as we step into a new year and into season 2, I want to gently ask you, where are you choosing familiarity over honesty? Where have you confused endurance with strength? What discomfort are you avoiding by staying exactly where you are? This season isn't about blowing up your life. It's not about dramatic exits or overnight reinvention. It's about noticing, because awareness is the first rebellion. You don't have to leave everything, but you might have to stop pretending it doesn't hurt. The new year doesn't ask for reinvention. It asks for honesty. And maybe the bravest thing we can do is notice and stay with what we see. If something you heard today stirred you, comforted you, challenged you, or simply made you feel less alone, I'm deeply grateful that you're here. And if you feel a gentle nudge to share this episode with someone who might need it, please trust that nudge. If you'd like to be notified when inspiration strikes again, you're welcome to like, share, and subscribe, but only if and when it feels right for you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your curiosity, and thank you for walking this path with me. Until the next unfolding, stay curious and trust your inner compass.